Okay, we're back to normal now. This year's not E3 is over, but we still got a few exciting tidbits, mostly from developers in Japan. Every week I make a video highlighting any video game news that interests me because although Nico and I play a lot of games, he tends to be pretty oblivious to news about them, while I am pretty obsessed with it. So here's everything I think Nico should know about in game news the week of June 19th, 2022. Capcom has finally officially announced Dragon's Dogma 2. Over the past several weeks, they've been making announcements about the 10th anniversary of the first game, but staying mum on whether or not they were working on developing a sequel. In a video released on YouTube, 10 Years of Dragon's Dogma, they discussed the history of the game, and at the very tail end of it, they finally said, yep, we're making a sequel and we're using the RE engine. Aside from that, though, there was not much information besides the logo. I've been meaning to play the first game, but like so many others, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I've probably got a decent amount of time, I'm thinking. On June 16th, Activision Blizzard held an Overwatch 2 reveal event. We already learned last week that the game is scheduled to launch on October 4th as a free-to-play live service title. In this new reveal event, they shared a roadmap showing that they intend to release free seasonal updates every 9 weeks. They also mentioned that they are doing away with loot boxes and instead there will be a battle pass system and a store. Personally, the only thing I'm interested in is PvE. When the first Overwatch released, I really enjoyed playing it, but because of my feelings about PvP, I only ever played against the computer, which even for someone as poorly skilled as myself, got boring. The characters, stories, and environments in the Overwatch universe are vibrant, interesting, and colorful, so I am looking forward to being able to play story content when they release it as part of seasonal updates starting sometime next year. Although they don't go into a lot of detail about the PvE content in their video, it kind of looks like they'll be releasing it somewhat episodically. I just hope I'm not forced to participate in PvP in order to unlock these chapters via the battle pass or something, because I just won't. The game looks beautiful and super fun, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. They shared a lot of cool stuff in between some rather cringy interview footage, so I highly recommend you watch the whole thing in the link below. There was another reveal event that streamed on June 16th, and that was Square Enix's Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary celebration. Lasting only about 15 minutes or so, we were still treated to a lot of exciting news. We finally have a release window and official title for the second game in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series. It's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and is scheduled to release winter 2023. We also learned that the series will have a total of 3 parts. The trailer makes it pretty clear that they're taking the story in a completely new direction. Based on how FF7 Remake ended, this has not come as a surprise to me. Personally, I'm here for it. I enjoyed FF7 Remake quite a bit, even though the combat was slightly challenging for me. Plus, I've already played the original PS1 FF7 4 times. I don't need to play a pretty HD version of it if it's still the same game. With all the games coming out, who even has time for that? There were other news bits about the mobile games and Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade now being available on Steam, but the news that excited me the most, even more than the Rebirth announcement, was the announcement that we're getting a remaster of Crisis Core, which is scheduled to release this winter. Originally released on the PlayStation Portable in 2007, Crisis Core was one of the first games that Nico put over 100 hours into and 100%ed. Although I played it a little back when it first came out, I didn't actually beat it until February of 2020 when I decided to tackle it as part of my backlog game list. I absolutely loved Crisis Core, and I will definitely play it again when the remaster comes out. Now, if they would just re-release or remaster Dirge of Cerberus, that would be great. Although I beat Dirge of Cerberus in Japanese, I was never able to beat the English version of the game because they changed the combat style to match Western gaming styles, and at that time that was too hard for me. I bet I could do it now. And finally, Nintendo has announced that they are bringing Pokémon Snap, originally released on the Nintendo 64 in 1999, to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack on June 24th. Ever since I really got into video games when the Super Nintendo came out in the early 90s, I've owned every major video game console except the Nintendo 64. And when I was working at GameStop some 22 years ago, I remember this game was really, really popular. I think that's one of my favorite things about having the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. I'm getting to check out games that I never got to experience. And who doesn't love snapping photos of Pokemon? Isn't that why Pokemon Go is so popular? And while not technically news, our raid group finally got our first clear of Endsinger EX in Final Fantasy XIV. Woohoo! But that's it for game news this week. Join me again next week for more news and adventure. Until then, play lots of games and have an awesome week.